Hi my dear agents, welcome back to day 7 of our AI agent journey. Today we are going to talk about some cool stuff behind how AI agent actually work. Okay, we'll cover what is data, structured versus unstructured data, what is JSON, how it is useful for AI agents, data types and why they matter in AI. We'll look about HTTP methods, and lastly we'll talk about headers, body, status codes and API keys. Okay, some of you might be aware of this topic, but as we are covering from basics, so for the people who are not familiar with this, they might find helpful. So first thing, what is data? Basically it's just the information that AI agents use to learn, understand and make decisions. You can imagine data like a fuel for a car. No fuel, no movement. Alright, in this data we have two types, structured and unstructured data. So imagine this, structured data is like a recipe book. Here everything is organized. We have title, ingredients and the steps to follow. So it's nice and tidy. Now that everything is organized, you know exactly where to find what. Unstructured data in the other hand, we have the valid data but it's not organized. It's like all over the place. We have to search for it and then find what we need. It might be beautiful but it's like scattered here and there. There is no label, no clear structure. Okay, now AI agents can deal with both types. When it's structured data, they can read it directly like filling out a form. But with unstructured stuff, they need a bit of brain power, like using image recognition for photos and natural language understanding for text. So yeah, AI agents are kind of like super smart assistants. They can deal with structured data and also with messy data as well. Now let's talk about JSON. It stands for JavaScript Object Notation, but don't worry about that. Think of JSON like hand signals between two people in a noisy room. In that noisy room, even if they try to speak, they both can't communicate and understand each other. So they use gestures for communication. Same thing with AI agents and APIs. They use JSON to exchange info. It's like the language they both speak. Here's a tiny example. Let's say we have a weather agent that wants to know today's temperature. It sends a request and gets something like this back. Temperature is 30 degrees, condition is sunny. So it's pretty clean and understandable. So AI agents follows JSON language to speak with APIs. While we build AI agents, we'll find this format pretty much everywhere. So it's better to understand before building them. But here the thing is, we don't need to write any code, but at least we have to understand the format of how this stuff actually works. Alright, now let's talk about data types. Think of data types like different categories of stuff we deal with every day. For example, numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are one type. That's usually called an integer in tech terms. Words or sentences like your name or a message, that's another type. We call it as string. Then there's true or false, like yes or no question. We call it as boolean. Now why does this even matter for AI agents? Imagine you are an AI agent and your job is to sort data. If I tell you someone's age is 25, now you know it's a number, you know what to do with that. But if I send you the word 25 instead of the number, you might be confused like what do I do now? It's kind of filling diesel in a petrol car. Now if I ask you to make a decision based on the age, now you might stuck. This is why choosing the right data type is like giving your AI agent the right tool for the job. Numbers for math, text for reading, booleans for yes or no decisions. If the types don't match, the agent gets confused and your workflow could break. That's why we always validate data types. We double check them before feeding anything to the agents. Basically, data types help the agent understand what kind of thing it's working with, so it can do right thing without breaking down. Okay, now let's talk about HTTP methods. Looks like a fancy name, but they are basically the actions your AI agent takes when it talks to websites or APIs. Let's imagine your AI agent is using a food delivery app, you know, like ordering biryani or pizza. Each thing it does on that app, it's like a HTTP method. So here we basically have 4 methods: get, post, put, delete. So first, let's look at get method. That's like opening the app and browsing through the menu. You're not ordering the food yet, but yes, you're going through the menu and just looking at the app. Now the agent does the same. If we use get method, it reads or fetches the data from the internet. No changes, only viewing. Next is post method. Okay, now after browsing through the menu, now you have decided what to order. That's post. You're sending new information like, hey, I want one chicken biryani extra spicy. Your AI agent does this too. Maybe it's submitting a form or sending a message to an API. Now put method. For suppose, let's say you want to order chicken biryani, but you ordered paneer biryani. Now what you'll do, you'll go back and change it from paneer to chicken biryani. That's basically a put method. You're updating your existing order. Same thing with AI agents. They use put to update something that already exists, like changing user settings or modifying data. And finally, we have delete. As the name suggests, it's basically deleting something. Now let's say in this case you changed your mind, you don't want to order anything or you don't want to eat anything. Now what you'll do, you just open the app and cancel the order. In the same way, agents use delete to remove stuff from a server, like deleting an old user profile or clearing out logs. So just Just to make it super clear, get method is like browse the menu, post is like place a new order, put is like update an existing order, delete is cancel the order. AI agents use these methods to interact with the internet in the same way we use apps. Whether it's getting data, sending something new, fixing a mistake, or deleting junk. These 4 methods covers most of the action. Without these methods, our AI agents just sits there. It won't take any action. Alright, until now we have covered how AI agents use data and APIs. Now we will cover how they actually send and receive the data. Here comes the HTTP request where agents use them to talk to the server. Every HTTP request has 4 key parts: header, body, status code, and API keys. The first one is headers. We can consider this as a shipping label. These are like the info on top of the order, like who is sending it, what's inside, and if there are any special instructions, we can find them. So headers are important. If there is no header, our order will be lost. Second one is body. This is the actual data. In this case, we can consider biryani is our actual data. In the same way, if we consider AI agents, here the data will be ChatGPT prompt, weather query, or any data you are sending will be the body. Third one is status code. Here in this example, we can consider this as a restaurant response. Soon after we place an order, if it's successful, then we'll get some kind of response from the restaurant, whether it's successful or we don't have that particular item, or any kind of response will be the status code. In the same way, after our agent sends the request, if everything was good, then it says everything is fine, or else it throws an error. And lastly, we have API keys. These are very important. Like we can consider this as a key to enter our house. Here what it does is it acts like a secret code that our AI agent is allowed to use that service. For example, let's consider ChatGPT or weather API. Only with that key we can access data from OpenAI or weather. Without this key we don't have any access to the data and will not get any output from the agent. Here we have to be very careful with API keys. Once we lose this API key or we personally share it to someone else, if they misuse the API key, then it end up costing us. Because if you remember, these platforms will give us an API key by charging some price for that. So here we have to follow only one rule. Never ever share our API key to anyone. Okay, now let's do a quick recap of HTTP requests. The first one is header, which is like a delivery info. Second one is body, which is the actual data. Status code is like the reply. And finally, API key is the VIP pass to access the service. So to wrap it up, let's do a quick recap on what we have learned today. We have learned about what is data, structured data, which is neat and clean, unstructured data, which is messy and random. We looked at JSON format, in which how agents and API talk to each other. Also, we have data types, the tools agents use. Then we talked about HTTP methods, which are the actions agents take. And lastly, we have discussed about HTTP requests, like a delivery box with label, content, and reply. All of this will help our AI agents to understand the world, make smart decisions, and do things for us. So that's it for today. If you find something complicated in today's video, try to watch again. Maybe once after we start building the agents, then it makes much more sense than learning it in a theoretical way. So stick with me, we'll build some agents in the future. And if you like this video, like and share it to your friends. And lastly, don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video.